Send to this now. Last week marked 100 days in office for the Government of National Unity. Some critics saying they have no expectations for real changes to improve the lives of the poor. The ANC has also been accused of using land reform as a political football to secure votes, while refusing to enact the structural changes necessary for true land justice. Well, let's speak now to the Minister, who is also a member of the PAC, Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development, Mzwanele Nyhontso. Minister, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time this evening. When you came in around July, I think one of the things that you said you were going to do, which I don't know if you have already done that in 100 days, but you said you are going to revisit the scrapping of Section 25 of the Constitution to address land disposition. Saying we're not blind about this expropriation without compensation thing. That's not our focus. But however, we do believe that there is something in Section 25 that prohibits the equitable distribution of land. What attempts have you made towards that regard?
Greetings to you, my brother, and greetings to the viewers. It has been an interesting 100 days. It has been an interesting experience to be part of government. It has been an experience that one never imagined, that inside government is not exactly like what is happening outside government. But my brother, we have worked and we are settling well with the department. Firstly, we had to understand the department. We had to understand the staff, the management. We had to understand the prescripts, the acts that governs land tenure and land claims, all those things in government, including rural development. So we have started at a very, very well meeting with everybody, stakeholders, farmers, meeting with traditional leaders, meeting with everybody who is concerned with land development, land reform, and rural development in South Africa. And from there, we started delivering as we have promised, my brother. We've started delivering, we've started issuing out land title deeds to our people with land, with hectares of land. We started in Johannesburg. We delivered land in one CPA, including the title deeds. We went to Northwest, we did the same thing. We delivered land, including support. In KZN, we delivered a lot of title deeds. We've been doing it, my brother, and seemingly people are happy out there.
Yeah.
But let me also raise what I've also experienced in these 100 days. It's what I call a concern and a worry. That when we are making, remember when I came here in the studio, I said, well, I'm going to do what I call the low-hanging fruits, make sure that I settle the land claims that were lodged with the department.
Yeah.
And this is what we've been working on. Now, what I've realized is something that is worrying me. People choose money over land, especially people in Eastern Cape. Now, that is worrying. Only in Eastern Cape, the department has committed 1.8 billion to settle claims. But my worry is that once you take money, you will spend money within a month. You'll have no money and you'll have no land.
Yes.
So we want to also, as now we've been crisscrossing the country, we've been crisscrossing the provinces. I've been encouraging people that you must go for land. Yeah. You must choose land.
Yeah.
Because choosing land will also go with what we call post-settlement support, which is also money, which means you can choose money and then you can choose land and then have money.
Yes.
But we want to educate our people about this. It's a concern that I've also seen in this past in these 100 days in office, that people prefer money. Also, I've also experienced that people are given land.
Yes.
And when they get land, others are given support, they're allocated farms. And when they get those farms, they utilize the money that they were given and then end up renting out those farms, and farms ending up not working at all. And it's also worrying because it feeds to the narrative that black people cannot farm, which is not true. Which means we must make sure that if we allocate a farm to a person, we're making a follow-up. We make sure that that farm remains commercial, that farm remains productive. We make sure that we assist them. I was even at some point saying, no, maybe once we give you a farm, we must also employ somebody who's going to manage this farm so that this farm remains a farm. So it has been an interesting journey, and people have been responding positively. Only last week, my brother, we've handed over 36 land title deeds in Newcastle in KZN. And that's around 20,000 hectares of land to our people. So people were happy, but my concern is that we must give them land and then make a follow-up, make sure that we don't just give them land and then leave them, and coming back after 5 years when that land is just rented out by somebody else. In some cases, you'll find out that these farms are going back to the previous owners, which were white people who sold the farms to us.
We'll talk a little bit more about that. But as a minister with a Pan-Africanist orientation, how do you feel about standing before the portfolio committee and saying since 1998 we've only settled 83,000 claims, only 3.8 hectares of land would have been sent back?
I feel bad. I feel very, very bad, my brother. We wish we could do better, and we are trying to do better. I've already started engaging the Minister of Finance. That remember, we need budget to settle these claims. And with the pace that we are using now, if we don't change this pace, they are saying, let's say if we are given 3 billion per year to settle these claims, it means what we have, this 5-point-something claims, will take us 27 years. It's not fair. Now we are engaging the minister, we are engaging with the department so that we see if we can get resources so that once and for all we settle all these claims. Remember, even the Constitutional Court says we must settle the old claims. That means those were lodged in 1998 before coming to 2014 claims, which are around 130,000 alone. So it feels bad to go to the committee. It feels bad to come and say this is the pace we are using, and we are working very hard to change that pace, and we are going to change it and make sure that all claims are settled.
So how do you meet that deficit? I mean, is the only thing really at this particular point to go and knock at the door of Treasury to say, we need 50 billion. We've got 5,759 outstanding older claims that we need to settle. Give us the 50 billion. Is there no other way of raising that amount of money to meet the deficit?
It should. We are also looking at all possibilities, my brother, including engaging private sector and make sure that we get assistance from other finance institutions. We can't really go to Treasury and say, give us 60-70 billion, and then we're not doing anything. We are going to take it further and engage other partners and other people who can come in and assist. In fact, the department is going to have a state plan in the next 5-6 days. Then we'll come up with clear program of action, because we can't rely on Treasury alone. We need a huge money, but also people must also go for land, my brother. Not this thing of calling for billions, because these people who are calling, who only want money, you would find that each household, some household would even get 200 rands or 150 with their claim. So there are ways to get other funders to come and assist us so that we settle this.
So let's talk about that. I mean, in terms of developmental support grants, 5.3 billion. That amount in itself is also a small figure. Wouldn't you say that the amount that you're distributing in development grant is part of the deterrent why people are not going for land? Because even if you say, okay, take land, we'll give you developmental support grant. One, to get a hold of that grant, you need DNA, strand of a hair, and every other thing that people do not have. And you have to fill in piles and piles of documents just to be able to get a grant. And you find that grant doesn't even begin to touch sides.
No, my brother, we are. That's why we're meeting and also having this state plan, and because we want to change a lot of things, including how it is difficult to access these grants. Not only that, including how it is difficult to get a farm. You see, I said we must change this thing. It's not going to work for us. Because remember how do we do when we want to allocate farms? We advertise and people apply. We invite them to come and write aptitude test, as if they are looking for a job.
Yeah.
Then if you pass, we allocate farms. It is not working like that. It can't work. It means we are living outside the real farmers. A man who never ever go to school. A man who grew up in a farm and understand farming. And a man who is out there in the rural areas. So I said we must go out there and look for real farmers and make it easy for them to access farms, and we must allocate farms. So we must make everything. It is not that only the reason why people are accepting money. It is because we have not educated them. We must educate them and tell them that it is important to have land. But then we must give you support. We must tell them that it's not going to work to have a 30-year lease. Because if you have a 30-year lease agreement, you cannot access resources. You cannot even go to the bank and make a loan and get support. So we must make sure that's why we are busy allocating, giving them title deeds so that they are able to go commercial and use this title deed to work the land and also access resources. So it's not only the reason that it is difficult to access this fund that they go for money. It is also because we have not educated them well to understand the importance of land and resources at the same time.
But why is it so difficult to get farmland when, of course, you've already indicated to the portfolio committee that you've got some agricultural land holdings that is state farms, basically. Some 2.5 million hectares of land that are held by the state. What is so difficult to distribute that? Because you already have that with you.
No, that's why I'm saying I have instructed the department to change how we allocate them. It is difficult because of these conditions that we're putting. These adverts we're making on Facebook and then calling them to come and do and write a test and then come back to them, sit down and others are just applying. We don't even give them responses.
Yeah.
So that is why I'm saying we must change how we're allocating land. Okay. We must go, for example, I was talking to one leader in Eastern Cape, and we were saying, no, there are people, somebody would have more than 1,000 sheep in the rural area.
Yeah.
And this man has been knocking in all the doors, trying to get a piece of land to farm. And then we have not been responding to him. We've just been ignoring his letters. And I was saying we must go out there. The officials, they must go and look for real farmers out there and allocate land to them. As you are correctly putting it, we have state land, we have state farms, but it takes time to allocate them to our people. And that is exactly what we are changing.
All right.
We're going to make it easy to access land. I was saying this morning to one radio station, if somebody was saying, for the past 30 years I've been applying, I am a farmer and nobody's responding to me. I said, then make sure that you're getting my contact. Come to me. I'll come straight to where you are residing. I'll see that you are a real farmer, and I'll make it a point that you have a farm.
Yeah. We'll talk, when we come back from the break, Minister, don't go away. We want to talk CPAs. As you're talking about education and educating our people, there's a big challenge there in communal lands and their understanding of the land restitution process. But also, we'll talk about the NARISEC program and its key indicators. The Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development with us. Stay with us. We'll continue in a moment. Back with you tonight on In Focus. So speaking to the Minister for Land Reform and Rural Development, Mzwanele Nyhontso, and of course talking about his 100-day in office and what he's beginning to learn about the functioning of the department. Now, Minister, there is, of course, the whole debate around, not even a debate, but the function that you need to really do in your office, land access versus producer support. And it hinges on 3 areas: land redistribution, tenure reform, as well as land restitution. Now, there are battles around communal property associations in understanding how this whole process works. What's the education? What is the education that needs to happen there?
Oh, we need to train them. We have started, in fact, my brother, we have started training CPAs. We have started taking them through the legislation and how they should behave themselves. In Newcastle on Friday, on Thursday, I'm on record, I was saying to them, we have this CPA is the act that was brought here by us or by government. If they don't want to work according to the act, we'll still go to Parliament and pass another act and remove them because they're out of order. These CPAs, one, they don't want to call AGMs. They don't want to leave offices. They don't want to account about the resources that they've used. And that is wrong. Also, there's a problem with CPAs and traditional leaders. They don't want, once they get the title deed, traditional leaders are alleging that they start behaving like traditional leaders themselves. So there's conflict between CPAs and traditional leaders, but there's big conflict between CPAs themselves because they don't want to leave the offices. And once they see the resources of the state, they're using the money and they don't want to use it properly. So I warned them that if you are not using the money properly, the long arm of the law will deal with you. Otherwise, we are really also as part of on our side as government, we are training them. We are making sure that they are following the law. But my brother, let me also say there are CPAs who are working well. For example, a CPA in Northwest, where we've restored land, and where we also gave them support. That's where they are doing the blueberry. It's a blueberry farm, and that CPA, I'm not sure whether it is because it's led by women only. It is very progressive. It is following the law. And I was saying to them, I wish all CPAs can come here and learn one thing or two with you. But we are really taking them through training, and hopefully they will, going forward, they will all toe the line and work properly. Otherwise, it was a good model, but it is because of the people who are leading CPAs who are creating problems. But we are working on it.
So on that score of traditional leadership and chairpersons of CPAs, how do you suggest then the approach should be on the land tenure reform system?
No. The approach is that the CPA should know that they are the CPA, but they are not the traditional leaders. The CPA chairperson should understand that his job is to make sure that he's working within, because that CPA is given a title deed, and that title deed means they can access resources, and they must make sure that they are making that land to be productive. They must make sure that the land is benefiting the members of the CPA. There should not be a problem between CPAs and traditional leaders. In fact, there are also some areas where the traditional leaders are working well with other CPAs. In fact, at some point I was visited by a traditional leader with the chairperson of the CPA, and they were saying, where are we coming from? We don't have a problem. We're working together. There's nothing wrong. In fact, another group that I met only yesterday from Bizan, they were saying we are a CPA, we are working with the Royal House. In fact, most of resources that we have were being helped by the very same Royal House. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There are some few areas where CPAs and traditional leaders are working together. But the department must also make sure once we elect the CPA, once we give them a light title deed, we must make a follow-up and make sure that CPA is complying and everything is going well. Otherwise, it's not something that cannot be rectified.
Yeah. Youth employment and rural development go hand in hand. Now, one of the key initiatives, at least in my recollection for the past 10 years, if not more, could be more, is the Narisek program. But even myself, who was there when the Narisek program started, I can't tell you now whether the program is successful or not. Who is monitoring? Who is monitoring this program? Where are the achievements?
Because you left 10 years ago, that's why you think it's not successful. It is successful. But let me start with your question and the direct question. The DDG, I think it's DDG Moyo, is responsible for this program in the department. And my brother, 3 weeks ago, I was in Gauteng, where 108 young people were graduating with this program of Narisek. We were giving them certificates. Others had already started to be entrepreneurs. I remember one young lady was declaring that she is now a boss. It is successful. They are working on it. But what I was just saying to the department was that we must take, because this Narisek program is meant for rural youth. So I was saying, let's make sure that in the next intake, we are taking people from wards in the rural areas. I mean, rural areas in the true sense of the word. So that we make sure that when they graduate, they go and plow back the skills. The 108 young people that were graduating, apart from the fact that they received certificates, all of them were having Code 14 driving license, and they were all happy with what is happening. But what we were encouraging the department to do now, we are saying, let's make sure that we're adding the budget. Let's make sure that next intake is from rural areas, and every ward must be represented, and you must have many of them, because it is really working. You must also remember, my brother, we are also responsible for rural development. And if we can make sure that young people are benefiting from this CPE, for example, in the department, we must give land 40% of the allocation to the youth, 50% to the women, 40% to the youth. Now, if we are taking these youth for in this program of Narisek, we must make sure that those who have preferred to be young farmers to go for agriculture, once they graduate, we must allocate land to them. We must allocate support to them so that they become farmers. So it is working, it is happening, and the Narisek program is there. I have experienced it, and I addressed the graduation of 108 of them only 2 weeks ago in Johannesburg.
Yeah.